Hey guys, Jennifer here with the Family Fudge, and in today's video, I'm going to take you along with me through my process of packing for our next big family adventure. And we're leaving tomorrow. We're headed to the UK and to France with a stop at Disneyland Paris. So today I'm packing up all these snacks, activities, and clothes for 6 people. Now for me, this is the ultimate game of Tetris because I'm getting to figure out how to fit in all of our essentials. And that's a challenge because each member of the family is only taking one carry-on size suitcase and one backpack. Oh yes, and we're going to be traveling for almost an entire month. Now last year we went on our very first international trip as a family. We visited areas of England and Scotland, and we had such an amazing time. Now, if you missed that adventure, I'll go ahead and link that video down below. This time, we're going to be seeing totally new things. Now, while we're there, we're also going to be road tripping up to Wales, and then we're going to drive over to Cornwall. Now, the thing I'm most excited about is getting to take the Eurostar to Disneyland Paris. So come along with me today as I pack it all up, and hopefully it's all gonna fit. Now, even though I'm packing everything today, I've been collecting things for quite a while, and I like to keep them all organized in these different baskets. So we have things for packing snacks, we have snacks themselves, I have the kids' electronics with their chargers and all the cords that they need. We have other snacks back here, toiletry bags full of wet products. I have a bin full of activities. We have a bin full of our important documents that we cannot forget. And then I also have some emergency clothes, and I'll tell you more about those when I pack the kids' backpacks. I'm also sticking this bag in my backpack. I call this my Mary Poppins bag because this is filled with lots of different items that we might need while we're on the plane. So things like medicine, wipes, gum, mini toothbrushes, cough drops, water flavoring, stain remover, and tissues. Okay guys, now I'm gonna go ahead and start with our snacks first. Our flight is 9 hours and some food is provided, but we don't really know what that food's going to be. And from our last experience, I definitely want to pack more snacks than I did last time. First up for the kids' snacks, I'm going to be throwing in one of these turkey and cheese Uncrustable bites. So these aren't like your PB&J Uncrustables. These ones actually have a meat and a cheese, and it comes in this soft little bread roll. We're going to be heading to the airport super early because I do not like to rush. So as soon as we get through security, this is going to be the perfect snack for the kids. To go along with that, I'm also giving each of the kids one of these crustless sandwiches. These are basically a cheaper version of an Uncrustable. Last time we were on the plane, my picky eaters were not fans of the food. So if that's the case this time, they can have a PB&J. And then you guys, each person in the family is going to bring one of these snack towers. And this is not only going to be great for on the plane, but they're also going to be handy the whole time we're traveling. Now for this journey, in the larger section, I'm going to fill that up with 2 different types of grapes. Now we love traveling with fresh fruit, and as long as you eat it all before you get to your destination, you shouldn't have a problem. I know a lot of airplane snacks and foods are not the healthiest, so I'm happy to know that at least we'll have one fruit with us. In the next section, I'm going to fill that up with some baby carrots and some celery. And to go along with these veggies, I'm also going to throw in this little travel-sized ranch packet. And you guys, these technically count as a liquid, so I'm actually going to be putting these in the kids' liquid bags. And then after we go through security, they can move them to their snack bag. Next, I'm throwing in a protein, and we really love these 0 sugar added little jerky sticks. I am gonna go ahead and cut these up just so that they fit better in our snack towers. And then all I have to do is screw all of these pieces together. And I really like the idea of having these containers with us. Like I said, that way I can refill them with snacks and we can use them on all of our travels, not just our flight. Now, to keep all of these things organized, I'm going to pack them in these clear bags. Now, I found these on Amazon and I absolutely love them. Each person in my family has a designated color. That way we can tell whose belongs to who. And in here, I'm also going to pack a bunch of other snacks. Because like I said, this flight is going to be long. And then once we get to London, we have even more traveling to do. First, I'm adding in the PB&J Uncrustables. On top of that, I'll add in the turkey and cheese ones. Now for a fruity treat, I'm also going to throw in these fruit rolls. And these are kind of like a cross between a fruit leather and a fruit by the foot. These come in lots of different fruit flavors and they don't have any added sugar. Next, I'm adding in a granola bar, but these ones have some added protein. And then my kids requested these specifically. These are just a little pouch of their favorite type of goldfish, the cheddar blasted ones. And then you guys, I also like to throw in at least one of these water flavor packets. This is the strawberry lemonade flavor. And what we like to do is travel with these collapsible water bottles. Now, of course, we take them empty, and then after we get through security, the kids will fill them up. And if the water doesn't taste the greatest, they can go ahead and add in that strawberry lemonade packet and everybody will be happy. Now for my snacks and for my husband John's snacks are pretty much the same. My husband prefers more protein, so he's getting more jerky sticks, but I'd rather have grapes. In my second section, I'm adding plenty of baby carrots, but for my husband, I'm adding Baby Bell cheese. And then in my last little section, I'm adding these dill pickle cashews. I love these things. They are so good. But then in John's section, he's getting this pina colada snack mix. This has cashews, dried pineapple, and dried coconut. For our snacks to go in, we also have these little clear pouches. These can also serve as a lunchbox for any of the days where I want to pack a lunch. This has just enough room for the snack towers and a few extras on the side. In here, I'm also going to be adding these packs of dilly bites. We both love pickles and these are so good on a flight. Next, I'm adding a couple of these skinny rice bars. These are made with like a puffed rice cereal, but then they also have dried fruits and nuts in them. I get this big bag at Costco, and they're just a really nice crispy, but not too sweet of a snack. And then lastly, I have just enough space to add in one of these double chocolate muffins. And these ones actually have zucchini on the inside, so they're like a hidden veggie muffin. And that is it. We have 9 hours on the plane, but we have to get to the airport several hours early. I definitely think this is going to be enough snacks. Next up, I'm sharing the activities that I'm packing for my kiddos, but this time I'm definitely packing a lot less. Our flight is leaving around 8 p.m., so that's kind of a red-eye for us. I'm hoping that the kids will get plenty of sleep on the plane instead of playing with activities all night long. Oh yes, and our plane will have a screen, so if they want to, they could also watch movies. But once we get there, we're also going to be traveling by train and by automobile, so I wanted to get activities that the kids could enjoy during all of our travels. Most of these items are from Amazon, but some are from Target. I tried to find specific things for each kid, but I also wanted to get things that they could share and that multiple kids would enjoy. With Griffin and Lily in mind, I picked up this travel set of markers, and these are the type that don't make a mess. And this carrying case also has room for paper and all of the pens. Next, with Griffin in mind, I picked up this hidden Hogwarts scratching activity. Now, if you've never seen these types of activities before, they're really fun, but they can get kind of messy, but that's okay because I always like to travel with a pack of baby wipes for cleaning up messes. Now, this next book I got because I thought all of my kids would enjoy this. This is kind of like a Disney version of a Where's Waldo book. And since we are going to Disney, I thought this would be perfect. This book isn't very heavy. It doesn't take up a ton of space. On each of the pages, they have different items and characters that they're supposed to spot. Like I said, I think all the kids could take a turn with this book. Now with Lily in mind, I did go ahead and get this really cute cat and dog coloring book. She has really been into more advanced style coloring books recently, so I know she's gonna love this. And to go along with it, I'm also packing 1 pack of colored pencils, and this is actually to share with any of the kids that want to color. Oh, and I love that these colored pencils come with this case, so they're not gonna be rolling around everywhere as we are traveling. Then for my youngest two, I also got this Who Was Queen Elizabeth II book. We are going to be touring Buckingham Palace while we're in London, so I thought this book would help them kind of understand a little bit more about Queen Elizabeth and just a lot of royal history. Next, for my Lego-loving girl, I picked up this Dots bracelet kit. And you guys, these are really fun. They don't take up a lot of space. And this is just a really fun, simple activity that's not too difficult to do while traveling. Now, with my son Jackson in mind, I picked up this IQ Puzzler kit. Now, what I like about this game is that it's meant for traveling, so it comes with a little case to keep all of the pieces together. Basically, it comes with all of these little marbles, which are not magnetic, and then there are puzzle cards where you're supposed to follow and build the pattern. Now, my kids are pretty old, so I don't need to worry about them trying to eat these, but if you have little kids, this might not be the activity for them. Another reusable item I know all the kids will enjoy is this mini Etch-a-Sketch. In fact, I think this is a fun activity too. I might play with this myself when we're on the train. Another great travel game is this magnetic checkers and tic-tac-toe set. This game set is really lightweight and all the pieces are magnetic, so they're not going to be falling off the board when we're moving around. Oh yes, and I love that this has its own carrying case to keep everything organized. Next, with my girls in mind, I picked up this Harry Potter paper doll book. And you guys, this is really cute because the Harry Potter style is more like an anime style, which I love. And yeah, I get to see both of my girls really enjoying this book. Now, you guys saw the coloring book I got for Lily, but for Mackenzie, I picked up this Nightmare Before Christmas one. When we're gonna be at Disneyland Paris, I know we're gonna see all kinds of Halloween decor. So it's a perfect season for this type of coloring book. And then also with Mackenzie in mind, I picked up this London book. But you guys, this one is actually a guide for all of the curious hidden history that you can find in the city. Now, if you've never been to London, there are so many little hidden gems and historical places that you might not notice as you walk by unless you know it's there. So this book is all about where to find these places and the history behind them. And then for all of the kids, I picked up this small pack of scented Play-Doh. And yes, I do travel with Play-Doh. It's actually not that messy, and it's a really good sort of calming fidget type activity. And then of course, each kid also has either a tablet or a phone, which they do have downloaded movies and music that they can listen to. And then to go along with that, each kiddo also has their own set of headphones and chargers, and I went ahead and labeled everything just so we would know whose was whose. Now, as far as suitcases go, we are using the same ones that I bought for our trip last year, and so far these have held up pretty well. You can see there are some dents and scratches and things like that, but overall, not too bad. But then for the kids' backpacks, I did go ahead and upgrade them to these larger ones. Now, these backpacks I found on Amazon, and I really like their size for the kids. They're not too big, but they're not too small either. They're supposed to be water resistant. And what I really like is this large section here that you can almost pack like a suitcase. So these can carry a lot if we need them to. Now, these bags also have a section for the kids' laptops or their tablets. There's also a little wet bag section, so all of their toiletries can go in here. And if something does leak, it shouldn't get the rest of the bag wet. I also like that these backpacks have a little trolley slip so the kids can put them on their rolling suitcases if they get tired of carrying them. And then these also have a little chest clip in the front to help distribute the weight. Now, as far as my backpack goes, I did upgrade as well. This is a Vera Bradley backpack. and I just love the print and color. But this one is also more like a suitcase, so I can definitely add any extra clothes in here that I need to. I also have room in here for my purse, that way I don't exceed the 2 carry-on limit. And then right next to that, I have my tech bag. And you guys, this is where I keep all of my chargers and electronics, my cords, my earbuds, everything I might need that's sort of a technology item. Oh yes, and I even have my UV lamp so I can do my nails on the go. I'll go ahead and zip up that section. Over on the other side, I have more storage for clothes, and in here I just put a couple of really soft sweaters. In this front section, I have an area for my compression socks. I love to wear these on the airplane. And then just to be safe, I also carry a pack of disinfecting wipes, also handy when you're traveling. Now in this other section, I have this little pink flat contraption, and this is actually a bendable phone stand. So if I want to watch anything hands-free, I can just put this on my tray table and set my phone on there. And then in this section, I like to keep my planner. This also functions as my notebook, so if I need to write down any numbers or plans, I can do that in here. Then I always like to travel with at least 1 pencil and 1 pen and a Sharpie. And then in the bottom of this section, that's where I'll put my snack bag. Last but not least, I'll stick my umbrella in my bag, and that is everything. Next up, let's talk about clothes, and this was a real struggle for me. Now, just like last year, I started by pulling out a bunch of different options for the kids. I did have to go out and find some pants and jackets and just warmer things in general. We're not used to having to wear that type of thing in Florida. So once I had out all of the different options, the kids did go ahead and try things on just to make sure that they fit and that they like them. And then I'm trying to be as minimal as I can with the outfits because I do want to leave some room in the kids' suitcases in case we bring back souvenirs. But basically for clothes, each kid has a dedicated traveling outfit. So whenever we're flying somewhere or taking the train or on our road trip day, these are the outfits that they're gonna wear. They're super comfortable, they're durable, and they don't wrinkle. And then to organize their clothes, each kid has a designated color of packing cube. And I love packing cubes. They don't necessarily save space, but they do help to keep everything organized because we are going to be moving from place to place to place. So we're going to have to repack all these things multiple times. I want it to be easy. And I want to try to avoid forgetting anything. So basically each kid has a nicer outfit that they can wear if we go out to a restaurant or something like that. They also have at least 3 tops, 2 bottoms, and then since we are going to Disneyland, I've also included a few Disney shirts and Disney hoodies, things like that. Now, unfortunately, even though we have quite the collection of Minnie Mouse ears and a couple of Loungeflies, so we're not bringing any of these because I want to save space in case we find something at Disney Paris that we want to bring back. And then in a separate packing cube, that's where I put the kids' pajamas, their socks, their undies, things like that. Oh yes, and each kid is also having an outer coat in case it gets really cold. Now my youngest kiddo, Griffin, does have quite a lot of space left in his suitcase, so that's where I'm actually going to put all of our hair tools. And that brings me to one of our pre-trip traditions, and that is haircuts for all the kids. Now, I took my girls to my favorite stylist at Ulta, and they both lost quite a lot of inches. And Mackenzie got an entire makeover, complete with a new set of bangs. I think these haircuts turned out really cute. Now, to keep all of the hairs styled and looking good, I am bringing a few extra things in this bag. I have my favorite hair drying brush and my curling iron. And then in the top section, I have a straightening iron, a brush, a comb, and all the accessories that we're gonna need. And then as far as my suitcase goes, I do have one big packing cube that is full of clothes, And everything else that doesn't fit in here, I'm putting in my backpack. And then I really want to bring 2 different shoes. Something more comfy that I'm going to wear on the plane, but then also something more dressy because I love to wear dresses and skirts. So I got these boots, and to make sure the bottoms don't get everything else dirty, I've just placed a little shower cap on the bottom. And then lastly, in my suitcase, I also have my gigantic makeup bag, but there's not just makeup in here. First up, in this little clear pouch is where I keep all of my liquid type makeup. I'm actually going to keep this in my backpack until after I get through security. Right under that, I have my travel mirror. A lot of the times where we stay, there's only one bathroom, so it's important that I can get my makeup on and get ready somewhere outside the bathroom. Next, I have some makeup wipes, a couple of palettes, and then this section over here has the perfect amount of space for all of my brushes, my eyeliner, my eyebrow pencil, and my concealer. And then over on this side, I have all of my extras. First, I have my eyeglasses and contacts case. I could not see without these, so these are very important. And I love that this case can keep them all together. Next, I have my travel razor and my beauty blender, and then a couple of travel hangers. I love to travel with dresses and skirts, which definitely get wrinkled, and not every place provides hangers. So I'm just bringing a couple of these in this section. I also have enough space for all of my nails, so I can do my nails on the go. And then I have just enough space for my travel jewelry organizer. So in here, I have plenty of space for my earrings, for my bracelets, and things like that. I don't travel with super fancy jewelry, but I do like to have certain things for certain outfits. And then in this last little section, I have a couple of reusable makeup erasers, some tweezers, a nail file, and a comb. Now, when it comes to toiletries and liquid items, I basically pack them all together, but each person has their own color-coded bag. Now, I did find these on Amazon as well, and these are a smaller version of the larger size bags that we're all using for our snack. The burgundy bag is Mackenzie's. The purple one belongs to Lily, the green one is Jackson's, and the blue one is Griffin's, but we also have some extra items in his bag because he has extra space. So in Griffin's bag, I'm adding a Tide pen and the kids' flossers. Next, I'm adding shampoo and body wash. Each kid likes something different, so I just have a travel size amount for each kid. And then to style the hair, the boys will be sharing this styling wax, and for each of my girls, they're getting a hairspray. Now, because they all have long hair, I cannot forget the leave-in conditioners. The white one is also a heat protectant spray, which is important. And then because we are going to be on the go, I'm also throwing in some dry shampoo. Next up, I'm adding some deodorant and a couple of these nice-to-have items. So I have things like sunscreen, blister cream, and anti-chafing cream. We're going to be doing a lot of walking and we're going to be outside, so these things are going to be needed. Next up, I have a couple of different types of toothpaste. We're definitely going to need to buy more of this along the way, but this is a good amount to get started. And this is enough toothpaste that the kids can share. Next, I'm throwing in a travel toothbrush for each kiddo, also color coordinated. And then something I like to have on the go is some hand sanitizer. And I got a cute little holder for each kiddo. Jackson's is the turtle, Griffin's is the Game Boy, Lily's is the cat, and Mackenzie's is the flowered one. Because airplanes can be super drying, I'm also throwing in some chapstick. For Jackson and Griffin, they are getting the Marvel version, and for Mackenzie and Lily, they are getting the Disney version. Next, I'm throwing in a comb for both of my boys, that way they can style their own hair. And then for Mackenzie, since she just got bangs, she requested a little comb that she can fluff up her bangs with. Now, outside of the toiletry bag, my girls also have a hair accessory bag. And this is where they can keep their headbands and their brushes. Mackenzie does have a little bit of makeup, so she can keep that in here as well. And if we do end up running out of space, we are bringing one of these collapsible duffel bags that we can fill up with clothes. And I also plan on bringing a couple of these travel compression bags too. These are the type that you can squeeze out all of the air and save some space. You don't need a vacuum for these ones. And these are going to be perfect for on the way home because it's not going to matter if our clothes get all wrinkly if we're just going home. Okay friends, I hope you found this video interesting. I actually really enjoy doing all this organization and this packing, and I hope that if you are planning a trip that you might be able to use any of these packing ideas yourself. And you guys, if you have any suggestions on places we should go or things that we should do in the UK or in Paris, please let me know down below, because we don't have everything planned out yet. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Hey guys, Jennifer here with the Family Fudge, and in today's video, I had planned to share with you our experience flying on Virgin Atlantic from Orlando to London Heathrow. I'd planned to share with you all of the amenities on board, what the food was like, but what I hadn't planned on sharing is what happens when you have a medical emergency mid-flight. Now, I wish I could say that this was clickbait, but it is not, but more on that later. Before we get started, make sure to like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. And now, let's start from the beginning. Tonight, we are flying to London! But right now, we just have a little bit of time until our Uber will be here to drive us to the airport. Now, I have to say I am a little bit sad today because we're leaving our girl. Now, I know she is going to be fine. We got her the same cat sitter that she had last year. And to prepare for that, I did try to tidy up our house as best as I could. And I also put up lots of Halloween decorations because by the time we come back from this trip, it's almost gonna be Halloween. So here we have the kids' outfit of the day. And yes, I do like to dress everybody in their designated color, which also happens to match their suitcases and their backpacks. On the airplane last year, it was freezing cold, so I made sure to get lots of warm clothes for the kids. But right now, when we're leaving, it's almost 100 degrees. So they're gonna go ahead and change into their shorts. And then once they get cold, they can definitely change back into their longer pants. Now, as far as my outfit for today, I'm going super comfy, but I am sort of mixing up my fandoms here. I've got my Harry Potter hat, but my Sleeping Beauty shirt. I've got some comfy bike shorts, but I will also be bringing leggings so that when I get cold, I can change them. And of course, I just have some comfy shoes and a comfy jacket. And Kenzie's got her cool Taylor Swift shirt. I love it. And 45 minutes later, we're at the airport. But now we still have how long until our flight?
3 hours.
3 hours. Well, let's get through security. Now, the thing about this airport is that sometimes you can get through security in like 10 to 15 minutes. And other times it could take up to an hour. So we don't want to be too early, but you definitely don't want to cut it too close either. And there's a sleeping guy right there. Are you excited? Yeah. Are you tired? Yeah. What's the first thing you're going to do on the plane? Watch a movie. Watch a movie. One of the cool things about this airport is that they have a hotel, but then they also have lots of fun stores. Over here we have the Disney store, and then way over there is the Universal store. Now, the Disney store here at the airport has almost everything that you'd find at Disney World. They have lots of things for Halloween right now, including spirit jerseys and ears. These are cute. I love these hats, but I'm not gonna buy anything here today because I'm saving my money for Disneyland Paris. And then right across from the Disney store, we have the Universal store. And of course, the store has everything Harry Potter. They have t-shirts, they have plushies. I love this Luna one. You can even pick out a wand. But of course, I'm not shopping for any of that stuff today. I need to get through with security. Right now, the security line says anywhere between 13 to 17 minutes, so that's not bad at all. Like I said, sometimes it could take over an hour. So 17 minutes turned into about 30 minutes to get through security, and we think it was because of this dark chocolate. I'm not sure why, but I think it set off some kind of an alarm. And now to get to our gate, we have to take the people mover.
Orlando Mayor Buddy Dyer. Hope you enjoyed the Orlando experience.
So we made it to the airport, we made it through security. Now I can relax. It looks like our flight is 10 minutes delayed. That's not too bad. You got an extra 10 minutes on top of your 2 hours. And now we wait. Okay guys, it is almost 9:30 and they are just starting dinner. Yeah, we got Lily and Griffin, the kids' meal, but we don't know what it is exactly. Let's find out. Okay, let's see what's in here. Careful, it's hot. Oh, it's noodles. It looks like penne pasta with tomato sauce, some grilled chicken and broccoli. To go with that, it looks like we also got some mixed veggies, tomato, carrot, and broccoli. There's also a little roll with butter. And then what's the dessert, honey? A salted caramel brownie. Well, that's good. You like that. Good thing we brought snacks, huh? So we saw the kids' dinner, and here is the adult dinner. And sorry, it's kind of dark in here. It is almost 10 o'clock at night. We had the choice between either chicken or veggie pasta, and I went with the chicken. And I'm not exactly sure what kind of chicken it is. It is very hot. I'm gonna try my best to open it with one hand. Okay, so I overheard that this is supposed to be a chicken pie. So I can see there's like a crust on the top, a chicken on the bottom, and looks like some roasted potatoes. There's also some cheese and a cracker. For the veggie, it looks like a little salad, maybe a Greek salad. I think that's feta. I also got 2 little chocolate brownie cookies and a dinner roll. And I'm going to be giving these to Lily. Here you go. Okay guys, now for the part of our flight that we never saw coming. So pretty much right after dinner was served and cleaned up, they started turning off all the lights inside the aircraft so that people could go to sleep. At this point, all of my kids were already asleep and I really needed to get some sleep too. So I put my headphones on with some nice soft music and I leaned my head against the window and I fell asleep almost immediately. About 2 hours later, however, I was woken up to one of the scariest experiences I've ever had on an airplane. So there I was, snoozing away when I got a tap on my shoulder by one of the flight attendants. And she asks me, "Are you traveling with someone named John?" And I looked at her confused and I said, "Yes, why?" And she says, "He's okay, but he's just passed out." And I just remember looking at her saying, "What? What do you mean passed out?" Because you guys, my husband John is kind of a tough guy. He doesn't ever get sick. He certainly doesn't pass out. So I thought for sure she must be wrong or have the wrong guy. But then the flight attendant asked me if I could come with her to help the situation and to answer some questions. So I knew she wasn't joking. Now, since I was at the window, I had to climb over a sleeping Lily and a sleeping Mackenzie, and as I followed the flight attendant, I came across one of the biggest shocks of my life. John, right on the floor of the airplane, outside of the bathroom, and he was between the jump seats where the flight attendants sit and the actual door of the aircraft. But I could just barely see him. Like I said, it was dark, and he was also surrounded by about 3 or 4 different flight attendants, and they were giving him oxygen, and at least 2 of the flight attendants were trying to get his bleeding to stop. And that's because when he passed out, he fell and hit his face somewhere on the aircraft. It left a huge gash on his eyelid and on his cheek. Now, normally I am not the type of vlogger who whips out her camera to film an injury for YouTube, but the flight attendants actually asked me to take some pictures and some videos, not only for my own personal records, but also so that I could show them to the doctor in case we needed to go to the hospital. And you guys, here's what we think happened. Shortly after the dinner was served, he started feeling like he was going to be sick. So he quickly got up to get to the bathroom, but he only made it about 2 steps before he passed out. So maybe it was the food, we don't know. But we found out later that oftentimes when someone passes out on an airplane, it's because of a lack of oxygen combined with the airplane cabin pressure. Now, thankfully, the flight attendants were able to patch up his eye, and after about 45 minutes on the floor of the aircraft, they had me take him back to his seat. I had to quickly wake up the kids and let them know what was going on, and I had to rearrange their seating so that I could sit next to John to make sure he didn't fall asleep. After a few hours, we finally landed. John was definitely looking swollen, but he was feeling okay. As soon as we got off the aircraft, we were met with an entire team of people to help us. He had several EMTs check him over more thoroughly, and other than the injury to his eye and his face, everything else was looking okay. At this point, they told us that we could leave, but that if John started feeling sick or confused, that I would need to take him straight to the hospital. Now, overall, this was definitely not the experience we expected to have, but at the same time, I'm thankful that it wasn't more serious, and I'm also really thankful for all the flight attendants and the crew that really helped us out. Everybody was so kind and very helpful. Now, if you're not familiar, Heathrow Airport is not really that close to central London. It still takes a while to get into the city, especially with traffic. Now, I was still concerned about John possibly having a concussion after his injury on the plane. So we decided not to take the train into the city. Instead, we went by Uber. The area that this Airbnb is in is called Islington, and it's kind of in the northeastern part of London. Now, for you Harry Potter fans out there, I read that not only does Emma Watson own a home in Islington, but it's also the filming location for Grimmauld Place, also known as the headquarters for the Order of the Phoenix and Sirius Black's house. It is also in Islington. And funny enough, a few weeks before this trip, we visited the Universal Studios version of Grimmauld Place. And even they say that this house is from Islington. We finally made it to the Airbnb. It took over an hour by Uber and cost about $70. And while I'm glad that we can drop off our bags, we can't actually get into the Airbnb until after 3. So we gotta find some lunch and then find something to do that's not too strenuous. Luckily, I'm pretty sure there's lots of grocery stores and restaurants nearby. Do you want to go to Greg's or McDonald's or M&S? Where do you want to go for lunch?
Yeah, just McDonald's.
McDonald's?
Yeah, McDonald's.
Let's go! McDonald's is right next to Iceland, you guys. Okay, from McDonald's, Mackenzie chose the fish fillet. She chose the fries. And for her drink, she chose the apple and currant fruit shoot. Miss Lily chose a Happy Meal with a cheeseburger. And I love the Pokemon Pikachu box. Right now, instead of a toy for the Happy Meal, you actually get Poke cards. Jackson has a Big Mac and fries and a drink. And Griffin also chose a kid's meal with a cheeseburger, fries, and a fruit shoot. I chose the special chicken wrap of the day. This was $1.99. So this has a piece of grilled chicken, some lettuce, barbecue sauce, and bacon. And then instead of McDonald's, John went across the road to this little halloumi stand for a grilled halloumi wrap. Oh, it's got salad and tomatoes. Is that falafel? And then there's the cheese. That looks good and fresh. Now, after lunch, even though everyone was so tired, we still had to buy some time until we could get into the Airbnb. So luckily, we found a nearby park where the kids could play and the adults could sit. Then finally, when 3 o'clock rolled around, we could go ahead and check into our accommodations. And let me take you on a little tour. So as you're coming in the door at the street level, you have this big flight of stairs that lead up to the flat. Right here at the top of the stairs, you can see all of our luggage. Just ignore that for now. I'll be putting all of that away in just a minute. And then over here to the side, we have the kitchen. Now, I think this kitchen looks super cool. I really love all the counter space and the exposed shelving. And basically, this kitchen has everything we need. There's a stove, there's plenty of pots and pans and dishware. This place also has a microwave, and it even has a clothes washing machine in the kitchen too. Over here is a tiny refrigerator, but it's gonna work. Now turning over here, we have the main living space with this really cool green velvet couch. And of course, behind the couch, I love all of the picture frames everywhere with the art. I think this looks really cool. Over on this other side, we have a TV. And then on either side of the TV, we have 2 Murphy beds. And these are actually double beds. So yes, the kids are going to have to share, but that's how it is in London. It's hard to find a place bigger than this that's not going to break the budget. Now, right next to the kitchen is actually the parents' bedroom, which is pretty small, but has everything we need. And then right next to that, we have the bathroom. And I have to say, I love this clawfoot tub. I think the tiles are really cool as well. And the sink also looks very stylish. And now you guys, we are so tired. I think we're just going to go to bed early, and that is all for the day. Good morning.
Hi.
Did you guys sleep good, or were you up during the night?
I was up a little bit because I couldn't really go to sleep.
Yeah, I think I woke up at 5, but I was able to go back to sleep. You guys know where we're going today?
I forgot.
We're gonna go see a big sailing ship. We're gonna go to some museums, and we gotta get on the tube. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Let's go. Oh yeah, and we're gonna have a special London lunch. Hopefully you like it. So we decided to head east to a part of London called Greenwich. Now I know it looks like you would say Greenwich, but we quickly found out that lots of places in the UK have names that are hard to pronounce, especially for foreigners like me. So like this one, it looks like it says Marylebone, but it's actually pronounced Marylebone. Then this one looks like it would say Leicester, but it's actually Leicester. And then of course you do not want to say the river Thames, it's actually pronounced the River Thames. So we made it to the Cutty Sark, but we didn't have enough time to go in because we have so many other places to go today. I do want to go into this National Maritime Museum first. So basically, the British Maritime Museum is a place where you can learn about cool ships, pirates, and the history of the ocean. After that, we headed over to the Queen's house. Now, of course, this is a very old palace where royalty used to live, but today, if you visit, you can see lots of art, some very fancy rooms, and it has one of the coolest spiral staircases in all of London, and these are called the Tulip Stairs. Now after that, it was time for a late lunch. So we decided to stop at a place called Goddard's of Greenwich. You guys, this place has been around since the 1890s, and they're pretty much known for their traditional meat pies and mashed potatoes. Oh yes, and they even have something called jellied eels, but we were not gonna try that. First up, the little kids are sharing this sausage roll with baked beans and mash. It's quite large, so I'm glad that they are sharing. And then we got 2 different types of pies to share. I think that this one is traditional minced beef and the mashed potatoes, and then this one came with a sauce. This green gravy is actually called liquor, but I'm pretty sure it's really made of parsley. So we're gonna give that a try. And then with this chicken and ham pie, we got the traditional gravy. This place is also known for their desserts. We definitely had to get one to share. This is an apple crumble, but there's so much custard on the side. This looks so good. Now, in this area of Greenwich, there's actually so many more things to see and do, but by the time you were done with lunch, everything was pretty much closed. So that's all for today. Good morning. Where are we going today?
Castle.
No, not exactly. We're going to Buckingham Palace. Yeah, let's go. And here's my outfit for today. Now, to get to Buckingham Palace, we decided to hop on the tube at Angel Station. And fun fact, you guys, Angel Station has the longest escalator in the UK. It's actually 197 feet long. And seriously, you guys, this escalator was making me dizzy. And important tip, if you ever come to London, you want to make sure that on the escalator you stand on the right so that people can walk past you on the left. Now, if you don't do this, you might get yelled at by a local. Don't ask me how I know. And as far as riding the tube goes, it was very confusing at first, but then we downloaded an app called City Mapper, and that really helped us to figure out how to get around the city on all the different forms of transportation. Once we got to Buckingham Palace, we had just enough time to snap a few pictures. Then it was time to head on in. And unfortunately, at this point, we were not allowed to take any pictures or videos at all inside the palace, which was totally a bummer. Now, apparently, you can't just tour Buckingham Palace whenever you want to. It's only open during the summer. And we were lucky enough to be there just for the last week of the tour season. On this tour, we were able to see the staterooms, the throne room. There were some clothing on display. We saw the grand staircase and lots of pieces of fine art. And we saw the gallery. This tour also came with an audio guide, which was very helpful, and I think it was really interesting to learn about all the history and the traditions in the palace. Now, at the end of the tour, once you get to the gardens, that's where you're allowed to take photos. And it's also where we had planned to have lunch, but it was really more like an afternoon tea. In the back gardens of Buckingham Palace, they actually have a little cafe, and we ended up sharing one of their afternoon tea boxes, which was kind of pricey. It was $27, but it was pretty fancy too. It came with one little scone with clotted cream and jam. This one was definitely my favorite. Then there was a coronation chicken roll-up. And if you're not sure what coronation chicken is, I do have a separate video on that you can check out. I will link that down below. Next, there was a passion fruit tart, a vanilla macaron, a Napoleon, a salmon-filled bagel, and a few little tea sandwiches. One of them was egg salad, and the other one I think was also coronation chicken. Oh yes, and I cannot forget about the little chocolate ganache square. That one was really good. And we also got a couple of royal ice creams to share. Out of the entire tour, the kids were most excited about the interactive kids area, which I think was so well done. It was so cute and there were so many things for the kids to do, and it was really hands-on. And of course, before we left, I had to visit the gift shop. After we left Buckingham Palace, we walked around a bit, then we grabbed some meal deals for a late lunch, and we headed back to our Airbnb. And for those who don't know what a meal deal is, it's basically one of our favorite lunch options when we're on the go in the UK. You can find a meal deal at almost any grocery store, and they usually consist of 3 items. A main item, which is usually a sandwich or a sausage roll type thing. You get a snack, which could be chips or fruit, and then you get a drink. Usually the meal deals are anywhere between $3 to $5 a person, and I really like them because each person gets to pick exactly what they want. Oh yes, and we do have a little haul from the palace to show you. First, we picked up a Christmas ornament that looks like Buckingham Palace. I also got a magnet. I love collecting magnets from all of our travels. It's kind of a tradition for me. I also picked up this hat, and we got the tour book. And that's all for today. Now friends, the very next morning we packed everything up and we left our Airbnb in Islington and we moved to a hotel next to King's Cross Station. Now more on why we did that in just a bit. Now we were able to drop off our luggage, but it was still too early to actually check in. So we hopped on a bus and we headed out to find something for brunch. Now Mackenzie requested that we try out a place called B Bagel. Now according to Mackenzie, one of her favorite YouTubers, Esther Lee, lives in London and comes here all the time. So for brunch, Jackson got the sausage, egg, and hash brown bagel. Griffin and Lily got the Nutella bagels, which were super messy. Then Mackenzie got the omelet bagel. I got the overnight oats. And John got something called a salt beef bagel, which to me tasted a lot like corned beef. After brunch, we stopped at one of my favorite places, Primark, which is kind of like a Target, but it doesn't have any groceries. They have lots of clothes, shoes, home goods, and lots of Disney merch. After Primark, we also stopped at a grocery store called Lidl, and there we stocked up on some snacks for the next day. And now we're back at the hotel. So you guys, the reason we moved to a hotel right next to King's Cross and St. Pancras Station is because tomorrow we're headed to Disneyland Paris. All right, we made it. This is our first time ever staying at a Premier Inn, and I've heard that they are nice. We came in here and tried all of the lights and couldn't get any of them to turn on, and we finally figured out that you have to put your room key in this little thing to get the lights on, and you have to keep it in there, otherwise the lights turn off. So let me give you a little room tour. Over here we have a little vanity area with a blow dryer. Right here is the little closet. And then the boys' room is going to be identical to this. So we have a double bed here, and then we have a sofa bed. So I'll have the girls share this one and I'll be over here. This room also has a little desk area, a TV, a Mackenzie, it has a Lily, and right out the window, ooh, right out here we have a Tesco Express, so that's probably where we'll grab some breakfast tonight for tomorrow. Then over here we have the bathroom. Standard facilities like that. Hello. So there we have it, the full room tour. Should we show them our Primark haul?
Oh yeah, you should.
So at that Primark, they had one area called Worn Well. It was all really cute vintage clothing for really good prices. So for myself, I found this really pretty blue dress. This has a nice detail on the collar, and it's actually, I don't know if you can see that, it's actually from Japan, and it was only $25. So that's what I found. And then from the actual Primark section, Mackenzie picked out this striped shirt. This was £7. Lily picked out this really cute skirt for £14. We also got a bunch of hair ties because I forgot to pack them. And then I couldn't resist this super cute Sailor Moon water bottle. This was £8. Tomorrow we're headed to Disneyland Paris. But you guys, getting to Paris was not a fun time at all. And it was honestly kind of traumatic. Now, I want to thank you guys so much for coming along with us on this journey, and I hope to see you in our next video. This story starts where last week's video left off, at a Premier Inn right next to King's Cross, St. Pancras Station. Now, we actually booked our tickets for the Eurostar a couple of months in advance, and they were about $150 round trip per person. And you guys, because we wanted to have as much time in Paris as possible, we decided to take the earliest train of the day, which meant that we had to arrive at the station around 5 a.m. Now, since we were traveling from England to France, we had to go through security and customs, which took quite a while, and was very similar to going through security at an airport. Once we got through security, there was really nothing to do but wait around until they announced which platform our train was on. But at that point, it was pretty much a mad dash with everyone all at once trying to get to their trains. Now, I'm not sure if it's always like this or if it was like this because we had the first train of the day, but we finally got on board, we found our seats, and we left the station. Now, the Eurostar is quite a fast-moving train, similar to a bullet train that you might find in Japan, and because of this, it only takes about 2 hours and 20 minutes to get from London to Paris. I had just enough time on board to work on my thumbnail, and that was for a video that I already posted, and that's where I showed everything that I packed for everyone for this trip. So if you missed that video, I will link it down below. Now, while we were on board, the kids were able to eat their breakfast snacks that we had packed, and my husband helped me out, and he filmed a little bit of the train just to show you guys what it's actually like. Here's what the food car looked like. This is where you can buy snacks and drinks. They were quite overpriced, so I was happy that we brought our own. And then of course there was also a little toilet area on the train, which was very similar to an airplane toilet. But I can tell you that walking down the aisle while the train was moving was quite difficult, especially if you didn't want to fall over or bump into somebody. Now, in the past, I've seen other YouTubers take the Eurostar straight to Disneyland Paris. There is a station right in front of Disney itself, but unfortunately, for this trip, that wasn't an option for us because apparently they discontinued that train service. So for us to get to Disneyland Paris, we were going to have to get off the Eurostar in Paris and transfer to a local train called the Metro. And you guys, here's a money-saving tip if you ever take the Eurostar to Paris like we did. You're gonna wanna make sure that you use the toilet before you get off the train. And that's because we ended up paying €6 for everyone to use the toilet in the train station itself. It was not free. Now, having been to London before, we were pretty used to taking the tube, and we were feeling pretty confident that we would be able to navigate the metro in France without any trouble. But unfortunately, we were mistaken. We were able to get our tickets to transfer to the next train, no problem. But then getting on the next train is where the trouble started. As a family, when we visit busy or crowded places, we have a system in place so that we can navigate without losing anyone. And I call it the formation. We used this the last time we were in London, and we had been using it on this trip too. Basically, whenever we're in a crowded place, we got into this formation. In the front would be my husband, John, who would hold Lily's hand. Behind them would be my two older kids, Mackenzie and Jackson, and then I would bring up the rear, and I would be holding Griffin's hand. So basically, whenever we were in a crowded area, I would call out formation, and everyone would know to get in this order. That way, my husband and I were creating a protective barrier around our entire group. On this channel, I try to keep things light and fun, but I want to tell you the truth of what happened on the metro because I want you guys and others who watch this video to be more aware and prepared than I was. So we boarded the metro in our formation, and keep in mind that it was pretty dark and pretty crowded, and we had all of our backpacks and our suitcases with us. So first John and Lily hopped on the train, followed by Mackenzie and Jackson. And then just as Griffin and I were stepping on the train, the doors closed behind us and we were stopped by two large men. These men started pushing us backwards until Griffin and I were trapped up against the doors and we couldn't get away from them. At this point, they started grabbing at me and pushing their bodies into me. And at one point, Griffin almost fell over because while this was happening, I never let go of his hand. Now, of course, the rest of our family had already made it onto the train just fine, and they were headed to their seats with all of their luggage. They had no idea what was happening to Griffin and to me. Now, after a few seconds that felt like minutes, I was finally able to break free from these guys and I started to walk away. I was so distracted by what they were doing, I had no idea that one of them had unzipped my purse and stolen my phone. Thankfully, there was another passenger right next to us who saw everything, and he quickly yelled at these guys and grabbed my phone from them, and then he gave it back to me. After that, Griffin and I were able to rejoin the rest of our family, and I quietly told them what had just happened because at this point, the men that did this to us were still on the train with us. You guys, my heart just sank and I felt completely sick to my stomach, but I tried my best to keep it together because I didn't want my kids to be scared. But you guys, because this happened, at the very next stop, we ended up getting off the train, and that's where I could not hide my feelings anymore. Now friends, before we even left for this trip, I had watched so many YouTube videos on how to stay safe in Paris. I knew about the pickpocketers, so I thought I was prepared. I did not have my phone out, I wasn't vlogging, and I was even wearing a crossbody anti-theft purse. But none of the videos that I had watched on being prepared, none of them had ever mentioned that sometimes pickpocketers might actually get physically aggressive in order to steal your things. So I was not prepared. After we got off of this train, we decided the metro was not for us. So we made our way up to the exit, and at this point we ordered an Uber to take us the rest of the way. This Uber ride took about 45 minutes and cost over 100 euros, but it was completely worth it to us because it felt a lot safer than the metro. And you guys, we were so happy to finally make it to our Airbnb, and I want to give you a little tour. And you guys, this place isn't huge, but it definitely gives us more space than a hotel room would have. And I really like that it also has a kitchen. That way we can cook our own meals and save some money. And it also has a washer and dryer so we can do our laundry. Now over here we have the main living space. It has a nice couch, a table, a TV. And then over here we have the kitchen. This basically has everything we're going to need. Over here we have bedroom number 1. This is going to be like the parents' room. And then over here in bedroom number 2 we have a double bed and a set of bunk beds. And you guys, this place actually has 2 bathrooms, which is really nice. This first one has a shower and the washer dryer. And then we have a bathroom number 2. And with a family of 6, that is important. Now this Airbnb is in an area with a lot of other Airbnbs, and it's pretty close to Disneyland Paris. And it's also really close to a shopping center called Val d'Europe. And generally when we're traveling, since we do have a group of 6, we like to look for Airbnbs instead of hotels if we can. Not only is it kind of hard to find hotels that are big enough for our group, but if we do find them, they're usually pretty expensive. Now, at this point, we were all feeling super drained and pretty hungry, so it was time for lunch. We decided to head over to Disney Village, which is similar to Disney Springs in Florida, or like downtown Disney in California. And you can definitely tell that by the time we made it onto Disney property, we were feeling so much better. We were able to put the stress of the whole metro experience behind us. And we were excited to see how different McDonald's would be in France. You guys, this McDonald's was massive. They had lots of different things on the menu. There were so many different types of burgers. There were wraps. There was this ham and cheese thing called a croque McDo. And you could even get a side of little tomatoes. And then, of course, they had lots of dessert options. There was something called a McChoconut. They also had chocolate-filled pancakes, and then an entire case filled with cinnamon rolls, cheesecake, macarons, muffins, donuts, and cookies. For lunch on this day, Jackson got something called a cheeseburger royale that had bacon. Griffin and Lily both got a Happy Meal with a cheeseburger and fruit. Mackenzie got something called a CBO, which I'm pretty sure stands for chicken, bacon, and onion roll. And then of course I had to try the croque McDo. This was actually a toasted sandwich with ham and cheese. Now after that, we also got a few sweet treats to share. We did end up getting the McChoconut. This was basically a hamburger bun filled with melted chocolate and then topped with chopped nuts. This was super good, but super messy. And then of course, since we were in France, I had to get the 6-pack of macarons. I picked 1 chocolate, 1 raspberry cranberry, 3 of the lemon cheesecake flavor, and 1 vanilla. Out of all of them, the lemon cheesecake ones were definitely the best, so I was glad I got 3 of those. Oh yes, and you guys, the kids' meals did come with a toy, but they're really good about not having a lot of plastic products here. So the toys were actually a little paper board game. But of course, the board game directions were all in French, so we weren't really sure how to play. Now after lunch, we did stop into a few of the Disney shops just to see what kind of merch they had. Overall, it was pretty similar to what you'd find at Disney World or Disneyland in California, but they did have a lot more plushies that were super cute. On our way back to the Airbnb, we decided to stop at a local grocery store called Auchan because we needed to grab a few things. Now, unfortunately, by this time, my camera and my phone only had about 10% battery left on them, so I didn't get a ton of video within the store itself. But this grocery store was massive. Now, I know this might be kind of weird, but one of my favorite things about visiting a new country is getting to go to their grocery stores to see what kind of different things they have. Honestly, I was blown away by just how massive the cheese section was. It seriously took up aisles and aisles. There was so much cheese. The bakery at the store was also amazing. And there was also a well-stocked meat section. This store also had an upstairs section, and that's where you could find things like clothes and beauty items. They had electronics in there as well. It was kind of like a Walmart or Target here in the US. Okay friends, so here's our little grocery haul. Our first time in a grocery store at France. We found a few interesting things, not a ton of stuff. Both of our phones were dying and the camera was dying too, so we kind of had to hurry. We just got things for the next day or so. So first up, the kids picked out 2 different kinds of cereal, and I think these are kind of like the Crave cereal you might find in the US. We also got some milk. We're gonna need some quick and easy breakfast, so we have those. We also got some yogurt. The kids love Activia, but we found some flavors we don't normally find in the US. We got raspberry, peach, and pineapple. And then I picked out this one. I think this one is lower in sugar, and this is just a vanilla flavor. For some snacks to take to the park, I got a couple of these little cheese and cracker snacks. At least I think they're cheese and crackers. I'm not 100% sure, but they have Mickey and Minnie on them, so I thought that they would be perfect to take to Disney. For tonight's dinner, we just picked up some meat and these already ready potatoes. This one looks really good. They're actually still nice and hot. This is looking like a cheesy potato casserole type thing. And then this one looks like little tiny roasted or boiled potatoes. Of course, we had to get several kinds of cheeses. They had so many to choose from. I'm a fan of brie cheese, so I got 2 different types. And I also got this raclette cheese. That sounds good. I usually get raclette cheese at Epcot, so I'm thinking that this one is gonna be good. Jackson picked out these crepes. They're not filled with anything yet. And then I'm not sure exactly what this stuff is. It says it's a chestnut spread, but I've heard that this is really good, so I wanted to give it a try. Of course, I wanted to pick up some croissants since we are in France, but to me, these kind of just look like Costco croissants. I'm interested to see how different they are. To go with these, we also got some salted butter. I heard that this one is a good brand. And then we also got some jam, and this is a reduced sugar strawberry rhubarb. Hey guys, Jennifer here with the Family Fudge, and welcome to Bunches of Lunches France edition. In today's video, I'm sharing with you our experience visiting Disneyland Paris for the first time. Now, of course, I'm going to be sharing all of our lunches from our trip, but I'm also going to be sharing a little bit about what we did each day. From the rides and the food, to the shows and the merch, there were a lot of things that were similar to Disney parks in the US, but there were also so many things that were different, and I cannot wait to share them all with you. Oh yes, and this video will also include our Disney haul with all of the souvenirs we picked up during our visit. But before we get started, I would love it if you would give this video a big thumbs up and go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Okay guys, now our last video ended with us just arriving to our Airbnb near Disneyland Paris after a not so fun time on the trains. And if you missed that video, I'll go ahead and link it down below for you. But now it is the very next day, which means it's time to go to Disneyland. And friends, I want to just take a moment to give you a big thanks. Thank you so much for watching, for subscribing, and for supporting this channel. It's because of you guys that we are able to be here. This year, Disneyland Paris has been celebrating their 30th anniversary, and we just happened to come during the last week of this celebration. So we were looking forward to all the special 30th anniversary parades, the fireworks, and the merchandise. But before we could start exploring the park, I had to go pop into one of the shops because the boys did not have a hat and Lily had forgotten her sunglasses. And even though this day was nice and sunny, it was also super chilly. Now I know 60 degrees probably doesn't sound cold to a lot of you guys, but to us, coming from Florida, 60 degrees is practically freezing. Now, right as we entered the park, we could tell that it looked very familiar to Disney World, although right in the center, Disneyland Paris has a little gazebo, but the vibe is very much like Disney World and Disneyland, and they even have the same exact music soundtrack playing in this area. After we explored Main Street for a little bit, we had to stop for a quick snack. Now, I had been seeing these Nutella-filled, Mickey-shaped donuts all over my Instagram, so I definitely wanted to give those a try. Now, as someone that used to work for Krispy Kreme donut, I can tell you that these ones were pretty good. They were simple, but still very tasty. The winner of the snack game has to be this big old slice of quiche Lorraine. This thing was hot, it was eggy, and full of cheesy goodness. It also had a super buttery, flaky crust. I thought this was fabulous. Just as we finished our snacks, the special 30th anniversary parade came by. And you guys, unlike Disney World where there's only like one or maybe two parades, this one seemed to be going like every hour. There were so many parades throughout the day, and this parade was amazing. From the music and the dancers to the characters, we loved it. After the parade, we stopped and I forced the kids to take some pictures, and I made sure that I was in some of the pictures this time too. After that, we headed over to Frontierland to hop on Big Thunder Mountain. Now, overall, this was very similar to what we have in the US, although I think this one was actually longer and faster, and this one has a bit of a splash towards the end, and yes, you might get wet on this ride. After Big Thunder Mountain, we were all ready to get some lunch, so we walked over to Fantasyland to go to a Lady and the Tramp themed restaurant called Pizzeria Bella Notte. You guys, this place was so cute. And even though they did have spaghetti and meatballs on the menu, just like the ones from the movie, we were really there for the Mickey-shaped pizzas. And you guys, these ones were as tasty as they were cute. For lunch on this day, we got 2 of these Mickey-shaped pepperoni pizzas. These were so nice and cheesy and perfect for sharing. Then on the side, we got some garlic bread. This was nice and hot and crispy and not too garlicky, which was nice. We also grabbed a salad that came with a vinaigrette. And then I really felt like having a yogurt, so I grabbed this one. And then for our fruit, we were supposed to get apple slices, but they ran out, so instead we got some applesauce. On this day, we were trying to have as many Mickey-shaped foods as possible, and this restaurant just so happened to have a Mickey-shaped mousse cake. This was super chocolatey, but not overly sweet, which surprised me. I feel like the sweet treats at Disney World are way sweeter than the ones they have here in Paris. This was a great lunch spot. It was family friendly and budget friendly too. After lunch, we explored Fantasyland and we went on It's a Small World. Now you guys, I am one of those people that actually love It's a Small World. I don't find it annoying at all. But I was really surprised that the one in Paris was not exactly the same as Florida or California. And that brings me to another huge difference between the Disney parks in the US and this one, and that would be their castles. Now, in the OG park, Disneyland in California, you have the petite version of Sleeping Beauty Castle. In Florida, however, you're going to find the way larger Cinderella Castle. And then in Disneyland Paris, they have an even bigger castle, but it's also called Sleeping Beauty Castle. This castle is completely unique, and it's kind of built on like the side of a hill. And what I thought was really cool is that you could actually walk up inside the castle. In this area, they have some really pretty trees and some stained glass windows. And there's actually a spot where you can stand and look at all of the people as they walk through the castle. And speaking of under the castle, at Disneyland Paris, there's actually a dungeon under the castle that has a dragon. For an afternoon snack, we stopped and got some of these pretzel bread, ham and cheese, Mickey-shaped sandwiches. Now, these were pretty tasty and rather large, so perfect for sharing, and these were definitely picky eater approved. But personally, I think they needed some mayonnaise or some kind of sauce or maybe some lettuce. Now after that, we ended our day by riding Pirates of the Caribbean. And you guys, this one was also pretty similar to the US versions, but also different. This one had 2 drops, lots of splashes, and parts of this ride seemed to be in a different order than I'm used to in the US. On day number 2, we didn't go to Disneyland. Instead, we walked right next door to the other park called Walt Disney Studios. Now, personally, I love that these parks are so close together. You literally can walk from one to the other, unlike here in Florida where you have to get on a bus or a boat. or a monorail to get around. And you guys, this park's entrance is pretty unique. You actually have to walk through a building to enter the park. Now, I really feel that this park is a combination of Hollywood Studios and Disney California Adventure in LA. It's kind of got elements of both. One of the rides that we really wanted to try on this trip was the Crush Coaster. This is not a ride that we have anywhere in the US, and this one is themed after the turtles from the Finding Nemo movie. But it did have a super long wait, so we opted to pay a little extra to get a fast pass. So we made a reservation for that ride later in the day. So while we were waiting, we decided to stop and get a snack. And you guys, this little area really reminded me of Epcot. There were lots of little booths selling food from different countries. There was food from Spain, Asia, Germany, and Italy. We decided on the churros with Nutella. Now honestly, these were a little bit burnt, but they were still pretty tasty. After that, we walked over to Avengers Campus. Now you guys, this was super similar to the one in California, but there was pretty much just one ride in this area that we really wanted to do, and it's called Avengers Assemble Flight Force. Now personally, I have seen all of the Marvel movies, so I was pretty excited about this one. And check it out, you guys, we were actually able to hear Iron Man speaking in French.
Chaque fois que je regarde, il y en a plus que la fois d'avant. Connecte-moi à Denver.
Now, if you've ever been on Rock and Roller Coaster at Hollywood Studios in Florida, this roller coaster is basically the same ride, only instead of an Aerosmith theme, this one is a Marvel theme. Now, I love roller coasters, so I thought this one was super fun, but I do have to warn you, it does go upside down a couple of times. After that, it was time for lunch. But we couldn't decide where to go. So instead, we ended up grabbing a few different things from a few different places to share. Last year, we were able to visit Avengers Campus in California. We had the giant $100 panini for lunch. That was a very interesting lunch, and I'll go ahead and link that video down below if you want to check it out. Now, unfortunately, they did not have that same giant sandwich on the menu here. First stopped at the Web food truck. First, we got the cold noodles. This came with either chicken, shrimp, or smoked tofu. Now, I decided to get the smoked tofu one, and it was delicious. And surprisingly, the kids liked it too. This had lots of veggies, and I really liked the bright, fresh flavor with all the garlic and the ginger in here. Now, to go along with this, we also got a cup of mango. It wasn't super ripe, but we still ate it anyway. We also tried these coconut balls, which reminded me of mochi. And then from the fantastic food truck, we also got one of their incredible hot dogs to share. This had melted cheese, bacon, onions, ketchup, and mustard. This was pretty messy, but very tasty. And speaking of messy, we also tried this cheesecake on a stick and this adorable Groot cookie, which was filled with Nutella. After lunch, it was finally time for our ride on the Crush Coaster, and I was a little bit worried because we had just had lunch, and I could see that this ride spins around quite a bit, but thankfully no one lost their lunch, and it was a really fun ride. After that, we spent the rest of the afternoon exploring all of the Pixar areas. And you guys, I would love to know in the comments down below, what is your favorite Pixar movie? Mine has to be the OG Brave, because I love Merida and bagpipes and all things plaid. Now at this park, there's not actually a Monsters Inc. themed ride, but you can, however, take pictures next to Boo's door. Oh yes, and right next to the doors, they also have a screaming area. If you're looking for somewhere in the park where you could scream as loud as you want, this would be the place.
I can do it better.
After that, we walked all the way to the other side of the park to check out the Cars area. Now you guys, if you've ever been on Radiator Springs Racers in California, this ride is nothing like that. Instead of some high-speed racers, for this ride you actually get on a big long tram and it slowly takes you through different scenes. It's a pretty calm and very gentle ride until you get to this part. And honestly, this reminds me more of a Universal Studios ride than a Disney ride. This area is called Catastrophe Canyon, and that's exactly what it is. This area has simulated earthquakes, explosions, and a flood. And if you're not paying attention, you can actually get quite soaked on this ride. Next, we moved on to the Toy Story area, and that's where all the kids went on the Slinky ride. In Florida, Slinky is a full-on coaster. It's one of my favorites. But here in Paris, the Slinky ride just kind of spins in a circle. And for me, that's a type of ride that I would normally get sick on, so I was just happy to watch. Overall, I loved the Toy Story area. It was so cute and well themed. Now after that, we moved on over to the Ratatouille area. Now unfortunately, this ride was closed during our visit, so we didn't get to experience it, but what we did get to try in that area were the snacks. First, we tried these cheesy potatoes. This had diced ham and onions. They were so good. We also tried the chocolate strawberries on a stick and the candied apple. On our last park day, we went back to Disneyland, but on this day, it was also super cold and rainy. In fact, as soon as we got there, we quickly figured out that we should have brought our warmer coats and more umbrellas. So we ended up sending my husband John back to the Airbnb to grab those things, and while he did that, the kids and I shared some snacks. Now since this was our last day, I had to get one more of the quiches. Those were so good. But then we also got this Donald mousse cake to share, and then the little kids also shared a toasted ham and cheese, which is actually called a croque monsieur. So while we were waiting for my husband to get back with the umbrellas and the warmer jackets, the kids and I had a little photo shoot by the castle. After that, it was time to check out the Disneyland Paris Railroad. Now I know this isn't the most exciting ride, but I always love to ride the train because that's what I remember doing with my parents when we would visit Disneyland. Now, the train cars themselves were very different. The seats were in more of a U shape. But just like in California, this train also had a little diorama to look at on the journey. After that, we went back to ride Phantom Manor one more time, and this time I brought a better camera so I could hopefully show you guys some details of this ride. Now, the storyline of Phantom Manor is way different than the Haunted Mansions in the US, and it's also a lot more dark, but you guys, there are way too many details to explain in this video, so I'll go ahead and link to a video that I watched that kind of explains it all, so definitely check that out if you are curious. Now, as far as the other differences go, the portraits in the stretching room are completely different, and there are two main characters to this haunted mansion. There's Henry Ravenswood, and then there's the bride, Melanie. Now, she's not the same bride as in the US versions of the Haunted Mansion. Another big difference is the graveyard section of the ride. In Disneyland Paris, instead of ghosts playing around, this ride has skeletons. And zombies? They look like zombies to me. Oh yes, and there's a section that kind of looks like Thunder Mountain, and that's because at Disneyland Paris, the storyline of the Haunted Mansion is connected to the storyline of Thunder Mountain. And as a side note, if you're ever waiting in line for this ride and it happens to be a rainy day, definitely do not lean up against the railing of the queue. Lily found out the hard way that it's quite rusty. Now by this time, we were ready for some lunch, so we headed to Casa de Coco. Now this restaurant is themed after the movie Coco, and it's right across the way from Thunder Mountain. And it has Mexican-inspired food. Now because we were all cold and wet, we did get some hot chocolates. And then for lunch, Lily picked out the nachos with no meat and no toppings. Kenzie and Jackson both picked out burritos. These had spicy beef, rice, cheddar, tomatoes, and guacamole. And then Griffin picked out the chicken strips, which actually weren't strips at all. They were more like chicken balls. And instead of offering barbecue sauce or ketchup with these chicken nuggets, instead they offered a Laughing Cow cheese dipping sauce. And then lastly, for a sweet treat, we did end up sharing a couple of churros with Nutella. Now, unfortunately, at a Disney park, there's usually some rides that are closed. On our trip, that was Indiana Jones, which is actually a roller coaster here, and Space Mountain was closed too until the last day. So after lunch, we were able to ride Space Mountain, which is really different than the US versions. And that's because this Space Mountain actually goes upside down. Now my kids were kind of worried about this one, but it ended up being a lot of fun. So if you ever get the chance to go on this Space Mountain, you definitely gotta do it. Since this was our last night, we really wanted to get a good spot to watch the castle show and the fireworks. So we grabbed some more ham and cheese toasties for dinner, and we camped out in front of the castle. First, we watched the special 30th anniversary drone show. This was amazing. And then right after that, it was time for the fireworks. Now, we ended up staying at Disneyland Paris until they basically kicked us out. We did not want to leave. It was so much fun. We had an amazing time. Overall, you guys, we loved Disneyland Paris. It wasn't too crowded, it wasn't too hot, and even though we didn't know much French, we didn't have any problems communicating at all. But next time, there's a different Disney park we're hoping to visit. Comment down below if you know which park this is. Now friends, make sure to stay tuned because in our next video, we're traveling back to the UK, we're visiting historical places, we go fossil hunting, we stay in some really interesting houses that may or may not be haunted, and of course we have bunches of lunches. Hey guys, Jennifer here with the Family Fudge, and welcome to Bunches of Lunches, British Edition. In today's video, I'm sharing the next part of our journey after we said goodbye to Disneyland Paris. And for this super busy week, we rented a van and we started the road trip portion of our travels. And speaking of driving in the UK, on this trip, we got into some trouble. We ended up getting stuck on the most narrow street we'd ever driven on.
Yeah, no.
I don't like it. But you guys, come along with us as we travel to the ancient city of Bath, as we cross the border into Wales, and then as we spend some time at the Eden Project and exploring the beaches in Cornwall. This video also includes a trip to a UK Costco, and not one, but 2 different house tours. And of course, I'm also going to be sharing the bunches of lunches we had along the way. So when it was time to leave Disneyland Paris, we took an Uber back to the train station. Then we hopped on the Eurostar to get back into London. And yes, we did take the earliest train back into London because we knew that this was going to be a long day of traveling. Our next stop was back at Heathrow Airport, which is where we picked up our rental van. Now, for lunch on this day, we drove to a town called Reading, and we stopped at a Costco. Now, you guys, I am a huge fan of Costco in general, but I especially love visiting Costco's in different countries and in different states because I love to see how different they all are. I really wish we had time to visit a Costco in France, but there wasn't one very close to Disneyland. Now, at this UK Costco, I was really surprised to find a few Halloween items, just like we would have back in the States. We also found a few Christmas items, and I was pleasantly surprised to find a lot of Disney items too. While we were at Costco, we took some time to stock up on water and our favorite snacks, and for our lunch, we each picked out what we wanted from the Costco food court. And you guys, this was just slightly different than the Costco food court in the US. Now you guys, since we needed to get on the road, we ended up having our lunch in the car. For lunch today, Mackenzie picked out a slice of pizza, which looks a little bit different than it would at home. Miss Lily picked out a hot dog, and she was really happy that they had chopped onions. For whatever reason, we still don't get onions for our Costco dogs back at home. I wish they would bring those back. Griffin and Jackson both got a slice of pizza. And then I got the jacket potato to share with my husband John. Now I know this looks a little questionable, but I love this one. This is a baked potato, only here they call it a jacket potato. And then it's topped with plenty of baked beans. But you guys, the baked beans here are not like the ones we have in the US. These beans are not sweet like barbecue beans would be. Instead, these ones come in a tomatoey sauce. Now on this one, I also had them add extra cheese on top, and this was a very sharp cheddar cheese, and with the heat of the potato, it gets nice and melty. On the way, we also stopped at a regular grocery store called Sainsbury's because we needed to pick up a few things that Costco didn't have. And for any of you guys that are from the UK or who have visited the UK, I would love to know which grocery store is your favorite because I think we've visited all of the major ones. We visited Tesco, M&S, Sainsbury's, Waitrose, Aldi, and Lidl. Now personally, I do love an M&S store, but I think our favorite has to be Sainsbury. After shopping, we drove the rest of the way to our Airbnb in the city of Bath. Along the way, the roads started off nice and wide, but they did get smaller and more narrow along the way. Honestly, you guys, these super narrow roads are still not my favorite, but thankfully we made it to our Airbnb without any problem. Now friends, if you are a Jane Austen fan, you've probably already heard of the city of Bath before. But if you're unfamiliar, Bath is really known for a lot of different things. First, it's stunning Georgian architecture, and this area has a rich cultural heritage. You can visit the Roman-built baths, those are ancient, and you can also visit the iconic Bath Abbey. And there you have it, guys. We started this day in Paris, and we ended the day in Bath. Okay, friends, Lily is going to give us the tour. Are you ready? Okay, take this. Here, let's put this on here so we can hear you. It's puffy. Okay, so what is this room?
This is the entryway. I like the floors, they look cool. Over here is the sitting room. The light doesn't work, so it's kind of dark. Over here is a really old fireplace. That right over there is called a Murphy's bed, and it comes up from the wall, but you gotta move the couch.
These couches are kind of like beanbag chairs, and you can move them around.
And now into the kitchen. Here's all the food we got from shopping. We got all of these things from Sainsbury, and then over here is the Costco stuff. I picked out the salad and the halloumi cheese. This kitchen's cool because it has a dishwasher, a washing machine, and a dryer. Look at this fridge. I like it. I thought you had to turn the handle.
They left us some ice cubes.
Like you just gotta pull it.
And they left us some milk and a bottle of something.
Now let's go upstairs.
I'll follow you.
Wait. First, over here is the parents' room. It's got a nice big bed. It's got a TV, a place to sit.
Oh, can I come?
It's pretty comfortable, but it makes a lot of noise and it makes me feel like I'm gonna fall. Now over here is a really old-looking dresser. So let's go see the girls' room. I want this bed. This bed's gonna be for me, and that bed's gonna be for Kenzie. This room also has another super old-looking fireplace, and there's another bathroom in here. Oh, the carpet kind of stops the door.
Yeah, the door doesn't open all the way, does it? Go ski.
I can take a shower in here. Let's go check out the view. But first, I want to test out this chair.
Cute chair.
I'm going. Okay, now the window.
Baby.
Windows. No.
Now, when I first walked through this house, I had no idea there was actually more, but Lily found it, so she's gonna show it to us.
Yeah,
What's in here?
I'll show you.
Oh, we're going upstairs?
There's another bed up here. You gotta be careful up here because you're gonna hit your head. The ceiling's really low. This little room has a TV, this lovely sitting space, and a desk for work. There's also a really cool view of the city. You can see some buildings. And over here's another bath. Oh, I know, it's really small in here.
Yeah. Very nice.
And now for the grocery haul.
First up from Costco, we got some bottles of water. And then we got a couple of things for tonight's dinner and just some things that looked really good. We got some meat for tonight's dinner, and Lily picked out this Greek feta salad. This looks really good, although she said she's not going to eat the tomatoes. Now for the other kids, I also got some butter chicken. This whole thing is full of chicken and sauce, but it doesn't come with any rice. So to make things easy, I just got this ready-made microwavable rice. I also got this big thing of mac and cheese. This will probably last us several days. Then over here, I got some French-filled pancakes. We are definitely missing the food from France, so I thought the kids would like these. They actually have strawberry filling. And then I was looking for the Premier protein drinks because that's what I have at home, but I decided to give this brand a try because there's only 8 bottles. Over here, we got some halloumi cheese. This has several packs, and my kids love this, especially Lily. So that's definitely going to be for tonight's dinner and maybe some snacks as well. And then my favorite British dessert is sticky toffee pudding. So when I saw the sticky toffee loaf cake, I knew we had to try it. And this is hefty. It's really, really big. So I can't wait to give that a try. And then the drive here was over an hour. So we also got these little brownie bites to have on the way. And as you can see, they were really good. And then of course, we also stopped at Sainsbury. And here's what we got. It's mostly breakfast foods and snacks. The kids picked out this regular Rice Krispie cereal. And then I picked out this Weetabix, but I just got a small box because not everybody loves this. This is an unsweetened cereal and it kind of gets mushy, but I like that. Also for breakfast, I got 2 cups of oatmeal in the golden syrup flavor. And I also saw this one for the first time. This is ready to eat porridge. So it's kind of like a cold overnight oat consistency. At least that's what I think it is. I've never actually tried it. For some fruit, I got these gigantic white grapes, a bunch of bananas, and then I got this pack of apples. I'm not sure if these are going to be good, but they do say the best of British apples, so they should be really good. For the kids' cereal, I got some milk, and I also got more of this Yakult. We tried this a couple of weeks ago, and this is like a probiotic drink. It's really good, and this was actually a lemon-flavored version. Now for myself, I got some oat milk, and then I got 2 packs of light and free yogurt. This one is sticky toffee flavor, and then this one is strawberry cheesecake. Now back over here, I got something really interesting. This is called clotted cream, and I'm not exactly sure what it is, but to me it's kind of like a really thick butter, and you're supposed to put this on some scones. So these are clotted cream scones, and then you're also supposed to put some jam. And I know you can get this brand of jam in America, but this one's a little bit different because it says it's the intense version. So it's supposed to have more fruit and less sugar. So that sounds good to me. I did also get some regular butter. I got some crumpets to go along with that butter. And the kids picked this out. This is a no crust bread loaf. As you can see, they've already taken all the crusts off, so that's really interesting. I also got a couple of bags of crisps, or chips as we would say in the US. These are the prawn cocktail Pringles. Never tried those before. The kids picked out these cheese and onion ones, and then I also got these prawn cocktail ones. And then lastly, because we have been loving the sushi from Sainsbury, we also got this roll. It's a chicken crunch roll. That looks really interesting. I've never seen chicken inside a little sushi roll. And then of course we did stop at Boots for things like toothpaste and more shampoo, more hairspray, things like that. And there's everything for our haul. Okay guys, so we've been here for one night, and this morning we found out that over here is something we didn't see before. Okay, so behind the couch, if you move it out of the way, there's actually, what, a fourth bathroom? Yeah. A fourth hidden bathroom. It has a step up. It has the black and white flooring, a whole nother shower, a sink, and a toilet.
This one's the same bathroom.
So where are we going today?
I actually go.
We're gonna go get some Sally Lunn buns. Do you like buns?
Yeah.
With cinnamon butter? Yeah. Never tried them, but they sound good. Then where are we gonna go? We're gonna go check out the Roman baths. Since we're in Bath, let's go.
I know the last place he's going.
What's the last place?
We're going on a bus tour.
A bus tour? Yeah. Our first stop of the day was at a restaurant called Sally Lunn's. Now, Sally Lunn's is one of the oldest houses in Bath, circa 1482, and it serves one of the most famous local delicacies, known as the Sally Lunn bun. And that's exactly what we went there to try. You guys, this place was so cute and quaint, and we made sure to get there right as they opened because I had read that because this place is so popular, there's sometimes a queue out the door to get in. We ended up ordering 6 different buns to share. Now, the buns themselves kind of have a brioche roll kind of texture, and the first one that we tried was the lemon curd. Now, personally, I love lemon curd, so this one was definitely a 10 out of 10 for me. Next, we tried the most popular bun here, and this one is toasted with cinnamon butter on top. This one was pretty good, a little bit messy. I give this one an 8 out of 10. After that, we sampled the chocolate one. And at first, I wasn't sure that this one was chocolate because the spread on the top was so light. I was expecting more of a Nutella look, but apparently this is cocoa powder mixed with butter, so it was almost like a thin frosting. This one was a 7 out of 10 for me. Next, we tried one that came with butter and with strawberry jam. And honestly, you can't go wrong with this classic combination. Another 8 out of 10 for me. And then lastly, we got the one that not all the kids wanted to try. This was a savory bun, and it was called the Welsh Rarebit Special. This one had buttery mushrooms, smoked bacon, chutney, and a cheese sauce. You guys, this one was so good. It was definitely my favorite. It's a 10 out of 10 for sure. Before we left Sally Lunn's, we made a quick stop to the basement of the restaurant. And this is where they actually have a little museum where you can see the original kitchen. This really gives you a good peek of what cooking must have been back then. So when we were done with our buns, we walked over to the Roman baths, and these are right next to the Bath Abbey. The Roman baths here in Bath, England are like stepping in a time machine. This museum really takes you back to the ancient Roman days of this area. Now, back in those times, this is where people would come to relax, to bathe, and to socialize. Now, for us, whenever we visit one of these historical places, we always try to get the audio guide if it's available. And if they have one, they usually have a special recording just for kids to listen to. And I especially like that because it explains everything to them in a fun way. And at the end of the tour, they even have a place where you can safely drink the mineral water. But you guys, since it smelled a little bit like rotten eggs, not all of us wanted to try it. Now, we did end up with a few souvenirs from the Roman baths. First, I got some Roman-style chocolate gold coins. We also got another magnet to add to our collection. And then I also picked up this set of blocks, which are a lot like Legos. That way the kids can build their own little Roman bathhouse. After that, it was time to get on the bus. Basically, anytime we visit a new city, if they have a bus tour, we like to take it. It's just a really easy way to travel around the city with kids. This tour bus did a really good job at driving us by all of the historical sites in Bath, and it also had the audio guide that explained everything to us. Now, after about an hour on the bus, we were ready for lunch. For Griffin's lunch, he chose the all-day breakfast sandwich. So this has eggs and sausage and bacon and ketchup. Now, Lily didn't like any of these sandwich options, so we got some cheese and some ham for her to make her own sandwich. She doesn't like mayo, so we got her some mustard instead. And we're just gonna put it on this no-crust sandwich bread that we picked up yesterday. Jackson chose the spicy meatball wrap. Hopefully it's not too spicy. And Mackenzie chose this really interesting looking katsu chicken dragon roll. For myself, I picked up the yakitori chicken dragon roll. And I also wanted to try this granola yogurt thing. I'm not quite sure what it is, but it looks like it has oats and craisins and pumpkin seeds. And then lastly, for everybody to try, I picked up these. I'm not sure what these are either. They say they're all butter Cornish cruncher biscuits. They look like really crunchy cookies. Okay, Missy, you gonna give it a try? Yeah. It's a cookie, it's gotta be good, right? Good? What does it taste like?
Cheese.
Cheese? It's not sweet?
Yeah, it tastes like cheese, like salty cheese.
Oh, I thought this was a cookie. It's not sweet?
Like a cheese chip.
It's a cheese chip. Oh, I thought these were cookies. On the next day, our first stop was a visit to the Jane Austen Center. Now, essentially, this is just a little museum where you can learn about the life and times of Jane Austen, how she spent her time. You can learn about all of her different books, and you can learn about the fashion of her era. And you can even try writing with a quill like Jane Austen would have back in the day. Now, of course, Mackenzie and I really found this place interesting, but for everyone else, they came because we wanted to. After the Jane Austen Center, we went back to our Airbnb and we quickly put together lunches to take in the car, because on this day, we decided to travel to an entirely different country, Wales. Now, we had a lot of different foods since we just did a grocery haul, so everyone kind of just picked what they wanted for lunch that day. On our drive to Wales, I did film our little Jane Austen haul. Mackenzie fell in love with this book all about fashion and Jane Austen's clothing from her time period. Jackson picked out this little bear, and then Lily actually earned this postcard. She finished the kids quiz on our tour. I picked up a Mr. Darcy magnet and a Mr. Darcy pin, and then Griffin picked out this old-fashioned ball and cup game. Getting to Wales was quite easy. We didn't have to go through customs or show our passports at all. We really just crossed a bridge. Our first stop was to the Children's Museum in Cardiff. Now, unfortunately, there were not a lot of areas in the museum where we were allowed to film. This was a very interesting and interactive museum for kids. Then after that, we drove to another museum called St. Fagans. Now, St. Fagans is more like a living history museum, and it showcases historic buildings that have been relocated from across Wales. And this place is set up like a little village. Now, this one was so fun for the kids. They had a playground, and we really got to see how people in Wales used to live a long time ago and through the different eras. Now, we did end up with just a few souvenirs from our time in Wales. I picked up another magnet to add to our collection. Lily got a squishy rat. I'm not sure why, but she fell in love with it. Griffin picked out a little tractor. Kenzie picked up this little stuffed dragon, and I think this is supposed to represent the dragon on the Welsh flag. And then Jackson, he didn't find anything he wanted to bring back. The next day, it was time to pack up and leave Bath. But you guys, we quickly learned that sometimes moving around with luggage in the UK isn't the easiest, especially if you're staying somewhere historic. Check out this stairway between our Airbnb and the area where we parked our car. It definitely took lots of muscle to get all of our suitcases up these stairs, but I'm happy to say that nobody fell or got hurt. Now, before we left the Bath area, we did stop at a nearby playground for the kids to play, and this was called Victoria Park. You guys, this park was bigger than just the playground itself, and it was actually opened in 1830 by the then 11-year-old Princess Victoria. This playground had so many different things to do. The kids had a blast. Now, after plenty of playtime, we needed to move on to our next Airbnb, which was in the county of Devon. Now, I read that this area is actually known for their beaches and is a very popular vacation spot. Now, this Airbnb had a completely different vibe. Outside, you could smell the ocean air, and you could actually hear the seagulls. Now, of course, I love the hydrangeas near the door. I think those are so pretty. I love hydrangeas. And overall, the layout of this house reminded me so much of houses from California. This had a nice large entryway. Then right off of that is the kitchen. Now, of course, this kitchen has everything we would need, which was nice, but it also had the view of the backyard, which I'm pretty sure here in England they call a garden instead of a backyard. Off the kitchen, there's a dining room, which is great because this is gonna double as our office space, because even when we're traveling, we still have schoolwork to do and videos to edit. Next is the living room with this nice large window. And then another great thing about this place is that it has more than one bathroom, and one of the bathrooms has a washing machine. Down the hall, I found 3 different bedrooms. This bunk room was for the boys, and this really cute room was for the girls to share. And then lastly, this room was for the parents. Now for lunch on this day, we didn't really do anything special since we were in the car. We had packed up all of our snacks and just ate leftovers along the way. After we got unpacked and settled in our new Airbnb, we went out to find some early dinner. First, we stopped at a store called Lidl, which is a lot like an Aldi. And after that, we visited a local farm shop called Greendale. Now you guys, anytime we're out in the country, I love to visit different farm shops. They have a lot of different local items and just some really unique things. This farm area also had a playground for the kids. It had live animals. And it even had something called a milkshake vending machine. Now we definitely had to try that out. We thought these would be actual milkshakes, but they were really more just like flavored milk. We each got a different flavor to try, and it was a fun way to end the day. The next day, we started off early with a road trip to Cornwall. Now, the reason we wanted to go to Cornwall was to visit the Eden Project. Now, of course, the Eden Project is known for its massive biomes, and it's really like a large botanical garden that was actually built inside a former clay pit. Now, this park showcases lots of different plants from different climates, and you can go there to learn about the environment, conservation, sustainability, and while we were there, we could see that this is a very popular place for school field trips, which makes it very kid-friendly. Now, if you've ever been on the ride Living with the Land at Epcot in Florida, then the Eden Project is very similar to that, only 100 times bigger. First, we visited a little outdoor playground. The kids loved this. And then after that, we visited the first of two massive biomes. This one was home to many Mediterranean plants, and the climate in here reminded me of parts of California, where we're originally from. Now, before exploring biome number 2, we stopped at the cafe for our lunch. Now, I know this looks like a bunch of different brown colored foods because it kind of is, but we ended up getting a few different things to share. First, we tried the cheese and onion pasty. This was really good, especially for my picky eaters. Next, we tried a more traditional Cornish style pasty. This one had steak, potato, rutabaga, onion, and it was a bit peppery. Now personally, this one was my favorite because it had more filling and less dough. Next, we tried their sausage roll. This was pretty similar to something you might find at a restaurant here called Greg's. Now, we have a separate video where we tried Greg's for the first time, and I'll go ahead and link that video down below if you want to check it out. And then we tried the bacon and cheese parcel, which was just okay. Next, for a bit of a sweet treat, we tried a couple of different things. This one was called the Gazillionaire Slice. This was very chocolatey and had oats in it. Next, we tried the Cherry Blondie Bar. This was a little bit dry, but then we tried the Victoria Sponge Cake, which was definitely our favorite. And then lastly, we also got a few local drinks to try. The first one was a ginger ale. This was way too strong. And then the other one was a cola, and the last one was a fizzy apple. The apple one was our favorite. After lunch, we explored the rainforest biome. And you guys, this one was hot, it was steamy, wet, and humid. It totally felt like we were back in Florida for the summer. And apparently it gets so hot in here sometimes that they even have a cold room that you can go into in case you overheat. The next day, we spent a relaxing morning at our Airbnb. For breakfast, we had scones with some delicious Cornish clotted cream and jam. The kids also had crumpets, but I forgot to film them. The kids worked on their schoolwork, and John and I edited videos and worked on our thumbnail. By lunchtime, we were ready for some fun, so we stopped at the grocery store to grab some meal deals to have on our way to the beach. The beach we wanted to visit was in a town called Lyme Regis, which was not too far away from our Airbnb. But while following our GPS, we noticed that the roads to get down to the beach were getting more and more narrow. Then our GPS told us to go down this road, which was obviously a huge mistake. This was not a fun time, you guys. We ended up stopping midway because there was no way we were gonna fit. And thankfully, John was able to reverse us all the way back up. I was so proud of him for getting us out of there. There is no way that I could have backed all the way up myself. And I was also feeling thankful that we purchased the full insurance on this rental car because there were a few scratches when we were done. It's okay, we have insurance, kids. Now, after we finally made it to the beach, we were able to start hunting for fossils, that is. This beach was located on the Jurassic Coast, which is pretty much a big area that stretches the coastline from Devon to Dorset. And it's called the Jurassic Coast because in this area, you can actually find fossils that date back from the Jurassic period. People often come here to try to find ammonite fossils. Now, as you can see, this beach was very, very rocky and there was hardly any sand at all. Now, I heard that if you get closer to the cliffs, that you might be able to find fossils more easily, but I also heard that the cliffs are dangerous, so we stayed close to the shoreline. The kids had so much fun hunting for fossils, even though at the end of the day, we didn't find any. Now friends, make sure to stay tuned because we pack up again and move back into London for the last week of our trip. Here we stay in a little Airbnb on the 6th floor with no elevator. We visit lots of museums, markets, we got a picture with Taylor Swift, and of course we had bunches of lunches. Come along with us today as I share all the lunches during the last part of our European journey. This time we finally make it to several famous food markets. We grabbed lunch from one of the most expensive stores in the city, and we had lunch on the grounds of a royal palace. So yeah, in this video, I am sharing a bunch of fun lunches from London, but I'm also going to share a little bit about what we did each day of our trip. So you guys, before we get started, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. So in our last video, we shared our time in Bath, and we ended the video with some fossil hunting on Devon's Jurassic Coast. So if you missed that video, I'll link it down below so you can check it out. But you guys, this is the very next day, and it was time for us to pack up one more time and to leave this Airbnb. Now, thankfully, we got everything packed up with no problems, and we didn't forget anything at the Airbnb. But what I did forget to do was take a video of our lunch from this day. Our drive back to Heathrow Airport was going to be about 3.5 hours. So for lunch on this day, we just stopped at a McDonald's midway for lunch and to use the bathroom. After we dropped off our rental van at the airport, we had trouble finding an Uber that would take us to our next Airbnb. With all of our bags and all of us, we needed to take 2 separate Ubers to get there. Hey guys, this last Airbnb was near Paddington Station. Now technically we could have taken the tube to get here, but after our experience traveling with all of our suitcases on a train in Paris, we decided that we were only going to take a train on the days where we were not transporting all of our luggage as well. Now you guys, London is pretty well known for being an expensive city to stay in, and it really is. But we found that if you stay a little bit outside of the most touristy areas, it's a little bit cheaper. So that's why we decided on this area near Paddington. And another reason why I think this flat was a little bit cheaper is because it was on the 5th floor with no elevator. So yes, we did have to end up taking all of our suitcases up all of the stairs. It was quite the workout. Right inside the door, there was a tiny narrow hallway, and that led to the dining room, living room, and the kitchen area. And as you can see, the couch was made into a double bed because this ended up being the boys' room. Now, I love this room. I love that it had large windows. We could see those iconic double-decker buses go by, and we could even hear the nearby church bells ringing. This little dining area also worked as our office while we were here. And then, of course, the kitchen was pretty basic, but had everything that we needed. Now, back into the narrow hall, we have the one bathroom. Now this was a little bit tough to share with 6 people, but it was totally fine. And what I was really happy to see is that this place came with a washer and dryer combo so we could do our laundry. The next little room was for the parents, and you guys, I absolutely love the view from this window. And then we have the last bedroom, which also had a really nice double bed with a lovely view. And this one ended up being the girls' room. What do you want to do now?
I want to have a snack and then lay down.
Have a snack and lay down?
Yeah.
Okay. For lunch on day 2, we took the tube to Camden Market. And yes, this is the same Camden Market that Taylor Swift sings about.
Enjoy walking Camden Market in the afternoon.
But more on Taylor Swift later. I thought Camden Market was so pretty. I love the water, I love the boats and the bridge. Everything was so pretty here. Now, I had read that these markets can get crazy busy, so we made sure to get here really early. But at that time, there was only one food stall that was open, and it was this one that sold pancakes. Now, this place had lots of different toppings to choose from, but we went with the classic Nutella and strawberry. You guys, this was a 10 out of 10 for everyone in the family, and it was perfect for sharing, though it was a little messy. After our pancakes, the rest of the stalls still weren't open, so we walked to a nearby gachapon store. This was seriously like a little piece of Japan right in London. Now, if you've never heard of gachapon before, they're basically a vending machine that dispenses a capsule with a toy inside, and you don't know which toy you're going to get. Now, I remember seeing these machines everywhere when I lived in Japan, so I was excited for my kids to get to try them. Now, Now, I do have to say that in Japan, I remember these machines only being like 300 to 400 yen, which is about $3 to $4. But here in London, the prices were definitely higher. The gachapongs here were over $7 each. Now, by this time, the market was open, so we grabbed a few different things to share for lunch. First, we stopped at a place called Funky Chips. Now, I'd been seeing this one all over my Instagram. And speaking of Instagram, if you haven't already, definitely go give us a follow over there, because on Instagram, I like to share lots of stories and behind-the-scenes stuff. From Funky Chips, we got this big old tub of food. This had fries, grated cheese, halloumi, nacho cheese, fried onions, and a secret sauce that tasted a lot like mayo mixed with garlic. It also had ketchup and slices of sausage. This was huge and super messy, but also really tasty. We all gave this one a 9 out of 10. The next place we went to was called Mac Factory, and they specialize in mac and cheese. Now, this place had so many different versions of mac and cheese, but since we were sharing this, I didn't want to get a spicy one or one with meat options, so we ended up just getting a classic one, which was delicious, and you guys, this disappeared in seconds. Definitely a 10 out of 10. After that, we tried another booth that I've been seeing all over Instagram, and this was the Argentinian steak and chips. You guys, this one had grilled ribeye, melted cheese, chimichurri sauce, and then they put all of that on top of fries, and then crispy onions go on top. Now, not everyone in the family liked this one, but my husband and I thought this one was delicious. And then the last thing we tried was called a Yorkshire burrito. Now, the filling for this one was made of shredded beef, almost kind of like a pot roast style beef, and it was inside a giant Yorkshire pudding. And you guys, I know it's called a pudding, but it's not really like a sweet dessert at all. It's more like an eggy bread that's really soft. So in this burrito, we also had sage and onion stuffing, roasted potatoes, there were greens in here, and gravy. And then we wrapped it up like a burrito. Now again, my hubby and I thought this was a 10 out of 10. I would totally recommend, but my pickier eaters didn't love it. So after lunch, we left Camden Market and we made our way over to something I knew would be super touristy and kind of cheesy, but we wanted to check it out anyway. Now, basically, this is a wax museum where they have lots of different life-size replicas of famous people and characters from movies. If you love taking selfies or you're into Instagram, this would be a fun place to go. This was surprisingly a really popular place. It was pretty busy, but we did end up getting pictures with Harry Styles, Zendaya, King Kong, Tinkerbell, Shrek, Justin Bieber, Dua Lipa, and of course, Taylor Swift. But you guys, I found out pretty quickly that this kind of was a tourist trap because if you wanted to take a picture with the royal family, there was an additional cost for that, so we didn't. Although you could get your picture taken with Princess Diana. Now, the funny thing here as well is that we do have one of these museums here in Orlando, but we've never ever been. But that's okay because this one actually comes with something that the Orlando location doesn't have, and that's a ride of the history of London.
automatically for your safety. Monitored throughout your journey.
London of Queen Elizabeth I. Billows to fill the sky with glory.
The next day, we got a super early start because this was the day we wanted to explore the Victoria and Albert Museum, also known as the V&A. You guys, this museum was founded back in 1852, and it's known for a lot of different things. You can see architecture, furniture, fashion, textiles, and lots of sculptures. Now, the reason Mackenzie wanted to come here is because not only is she a Queen Victoria history buff, but she also really wanted to check out the fashion exhibit. But before we could do that, we wanted to stop and get a snack at the cafe because I heard that it was amazing inside. And you guys, it did not disappoint. It was so pretty in here. Since it wasn't quite lunchtime, we just got a few of their tea cakes to try. Jackson got this cherry bakewell bar, Brisbane got a lemon blueberry bar, John got a pistachio carrot cake, and Mackenzie got a walnut brownie. Now Lily, she decided to get the chocolate muffin, and then for me, anytime I see a scone with clotted cream on the menu, that's what I'm ordering. No, honestly, these were all pretty okay. They were a little bit expensive, but I think it's because of the experience that you have while you're there. After our snack, we checked out the fashion exhibit. They had so many different dresses dating back from the 17th century all the way up to post-World War II fashion. And this was really interesting to see how clothes changed over the years. After that, we checked out some of Queen Victoria's own dresses and the William Morris collection. Now, personally, I love these designs. I think they are so intricate. So after exploring the V&A for quite a long time, we took a walk over to Harrods. Now, according to my research, Harrods got its start back in the 1800s, and it's one of the largest and most famous department stores in the world. There's actually 300 departments within the store. There's also a bunch of restaurants, a bank, and a beauty salon. If you wanted to buy a fancy purse, or some kind of designer clothes, you're gonna find it here. Now, we had passed by Harrods a few times before, but we never actually went inside because I thought Harrods was just all fancy clothes and expensive purses, and it is, but I also found out that they have quite an amazing food hall. So that's what we were there to check out. Now, we were there right around lunchtime, so even though this place was massive, it was also pretty packed. This food hall had so much, it even took up several different rooms. We saw sushi, lots of different types of sandwiches. One of the sandwiches was even topped with edible gold. We saw lots of fresh fruit, fresh pasta dishes, and some really expensive caviar. They also had so many desserts and lots of chocolate. Now, because it was so busy, we ended up just grabbing our lunch to go. But before we left Harrods, we did stop and check out the toys. We found this Dumbo Steffi. It was only about $900. Then we found this unicorn. This was only $3,000. And then this huge giraffe over here. This was just over $5,000. So those are some expensive toys. We were happy to find the prices in the Lego area only slightly more expensive than what they would be at Target back at home. We'd planned to take our Harrods food to the park for a picnic, but since it started raining, we took it back to our Airbnb. We ended up getting a couple of these ham and cheese croissants. These were about 5 pounds each. Next, we got a salt beef bagel. This was about 9 pounds. We also got an almond croissant that was about 4 pounds. And then I picked out this cheese and mushroom croissant. This was also about 5 pounds. And then we also had to get some Harrods chocolate to try. Now, since we were back at our Airbnb, we already had apples and fruit and drinks to go with this lunch for this day. The next day, we ordered an Uber to take us to Hampton Court Palace. Now, this ended up taking almost an hour to get there since there was a rail strike and we couldn't take the train. Before we left the Paddington area, we all stopped and picked out a meal deal to have as a picnic on the palace grounds. But unfortunately, when our Uber dropped us off, it drove away before we were able to get our lunch out of the back of the car. So we weren't sure if we were gonna have lunch this day. Now, it took a bit of calling around, but we were finally able to get through to the Uber driver, who thankfully drove back with our lunches. After we got our tickets and entered the palace grounds, we found a nice spot to stop and have our picnic of meal deals. Lily picked the cheese and onion slice with watermelon on the side. Mackenzie picked her favorite coronation chicken with some strawberries and grapes. And then John and I shared this yakitori chicken dragon roll with some cantaloupe and pot stickers. Griffin chose an all-day breakfast sandwich with some fruit. And then Jackson picked a BLT with some watermelon. And then I surprised everyone with a pack of Colin the Caterpillar treats. Now, I think these are really cute. They remind me of a snack cake here in the US called a ho-ho. But of course, these ones have a cute little caterpillar face on it and some M&M type candies on the back. After lunch, it was time to explore the palace. You guys, this palace had so much to see and do. And of course, we made sure to get the audio guides for the kids because the audio guides always do such a good job at explaining everything we see along the way. So it was fun, but it was also educational. Over the years, Hampton Court Palace was served as a residence for monarchs, including King Henry VIII. On this tour, we were able to see the kitchens. This is where they would have made huge amount of foods for the great feast they would have. Next, we saw the Great Hall. This had a beautiful, intricate ceiling. And then we went to the Haunted Gallery, and it said that the ghost of Catherine Howard has spotted here several times, and she was one of the wives of Henry VIII. Then we finished the inside of the tour by walking through the royal apartment. After that, we moved outside to explore the outside portion of the tour. After we checked out the fountain, we saw lots of deer. And then we got slightly lost in the Hampton Court maze. Apparently, this is believed to be Britain's oldest standing hedge maze and was planted back in 1690. After that, we finished the day with a stop at the Magic Garden Playground. The next day for lunch, we visited another famous food market in London called Borough Market. This is one of the largest and oldest food markets in all of London. And just like when we visited Camden Market, we tried to get here nice and early so it wouldn't be too crowded. First, we tried the TikTok famous strawberries and chocolate. This looked beautiful, you guys. It's a whole tub of fresh strawberries drizzled with loads of melted chocolate. Now, obviously, my kids loved this one, even though it was really messy. You might be surprised, though, that I thought this one didn't really live up to the hype. Then, for something savory, we stopped at a stall called the Ginger Pig because we wanted to try their massive sausage roll. You guys, this was not like any sausage roll from Greg's. This did not disappoint. It was huge and perfect for sharing, and even my pickier eaters liked this one. To me, this tasted like a really good meatloaf wrapped in pastry. I do have to tell you guys to just be careful where you stand here. Do not stand under any pigeons. Trust me, it did not end well for one of us. Oh yes, and for all of you Harry Potter fans out there, Borough Market serves as the location for the Leaky Cauldron in the Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban movie. After our delicious snacks, it was time for us to start our hop-on, hop-off bus tour of London. This is one of our favorite things to do anytime we visit a big city. Especially with kids, I think this is a great way to see all of the sights in a safe and easy way. During our tour, we decided to stop at Leicester Square because I wanted to visit Chinatown. But as we were walking to Chinatown, we passed an M&M store and we couldn't resist. We were also looking for a place to stop for a bathroom, so this was the perfect stop. Now the funny thing is that we actually have an M&M store near us in Florida at Disney Springs, but we've never ever been to that one. Now, while we were here, the kids got to pick out their own M&Ms. Right around the corner from the M&M store, we found the Chinatown. Our first stop was to the Chinatown Bakery, and I just got a couple of different things to try. First, we tried these cream-filled taiyaki. These were super good and really fresh. Next, we tried this peanut cream bun. This was really light, and it didn't have a very strong peanut flavor. After that, we tried a bun that had a hot dog added to it. This one was definitely the kids' favorite. Next, we tried a cheesy garlic bun. That one tasted like pizza. And then my favorite was the curry-filled bun. This wasn't quite like the curry pan I used to get in Japan, but it was still really good. And then lastly, we tried the melon roll. This was super light and very fluffy.
I can't really tell what the flavor is. It's good though.
After exploring Chinatown for a bit, we stopped at one more shop before the end of the day. This place was called the Bun House. We ended up getting their 3-bun deal, and this came in a really cute carrying case. The first one we tried was filled with beef, the second one we tried was filled with chicken, and then the last one we tried was a sweet version, and it was filled with a super runny but delicious custard filling. These were all really good, but our favorite was the custard. For lunch on the next day, we went back to Leicester Square because I saw the day before that they had a Japan Center. Now on the top floors, there were several restaurants, but then in the basement, there was a little grocery store and a lunch area. Now, I was able to find some of my favorite Japanese snacks, and I even found lots of bento supplies. Now, for lunch on this day, we ended up getting a bunch of different things to share. First, we got this chicken katsu roll. We got a chicken katsu skewer, some edamame, and a chicken mayo onigiri. Next, I grabbed some melon bread and I ordered 2 of the chicken steamed bun. I also got an order of the chicken katsu curry, and then we got some fun drinks to try too. After lunch, we took the tube over to a children's museum called the Young V&A. Now, we didn't spend a ton of time here, but I do have to say that one of the best things about museums in London is that many of them are free to enter, including this one. This museum was made specifically with kids in mind, and my kids really loved all the old school toys they had on display, and there were several hands-on areas. Okay guys, on our last full day in London, we made our first stop at another Harry Potter site, Leadenhall Market. Now, since we got here really early, nothing was really open at that point, but that was okay because we really wanted to make just a quick stop here. And I'd have to say that this is probably one of the prettiest markets in London. I love that it's all covered, it's so colorful, and I love all the detail. Now, of course, Leadenhall Market has a rich history, and since we were there around Halloween, they also had some decorations up as well. But it was also used in not one, but 2 different Harry Potter films. Now, if you think that this looks a lot like Diagon Alley, you'd be right. The scene where Harry Potter and Hagrid go shopping for wands was actually filmed here in the first Harry Potter movie. From there, we were able to walk to our next destination, which was the Tower of London. Now, the Tower of London has quite the long and sometimes dark history. It's been a royal palace, a prison, a place of execution, and it's also been a menagerie. But what we were there to see were the crown jewels. Now, unfortunately, you're not allowed to take any video or pictures of the crown jewels themselves, so I'll just insert a few pictures from their website. Basically, the crown jewels are a collection of jewels and crowns used by the royal family, and they're still used in important national ceremonies today. Now, unfortunately, since this was our last full day in London, we didn't end up having anything special or interesting for lunch, and that's because we headed back to our Airbnb to start packing up to go home. We just ate our leftovers that we already had. Okay friends, now that brings me to day number 8, which was all about going home. We loaded up all of our stuff, made it back to the airport, and then thankfully the flight back home was uneventful and no one was injured like last time. On this journey, we learned so much. We tasted so many different foods. We did have some rough times, but overall we had a blast. Now we are so happy to be back home with our kitty and we're looking forward to the holidays. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in the next video.